Would you kindly put your hands together for Team Washington, D.C.?
Hi, I'm Marvin Bowser.
Hi, I'm Lynn Brown.
Hi, my name is Mark Gray, and I'm
One of the Gay Games DC 2022 co-chairs.
The Gay Games have been an inspiration to thousands of people from around the world.
Historically, Washington, D.C.
Has been a city of inspiration.
To Americans and to all global citizens.
Bem-vindo a Washington.
Bienvenidos a Washington, D.C.
Washington!
Hindi tolak to Washington, D.C.
Selamat datang di Washington DC.
Bine ați venit în Washington. Poți binevenit Washington.
What inspires me about Washington, D.C. is that it's our nation's capital. It's where people come together to share ideas for how to make the world a better place.
What inspires me about DC is the energy that comes from the gay community. I've lived all over the world, grew up all over the world, and it wasn't until I moved to DC where I really actually felt a part of something.
I think Washington, D.C. is a very unique place because we have Gallaudet here. We have like the deaf people, we have the hearing people, we have gay people, we have straight people. We have a very diverse community, so to be able to unite everyone, involve everyone, and just interact, I think that's going to be really healthy.
I'm the sports writer for the Washington Blade in DC, so I get to interview all the athletes in DC. And over the last 8 years, it's been amazing to me the people that I've met that are committed to sports and committed to this city and committed to bringing the games to Washington, D.C.
DC's my hometown. And my family's been here for generations. I can't think of a better place to host the Gay Games. We have all the infrastructure here to take care of the safety, transportation, amazing venues. We also have a very large LGBT sports community. So we'll have representatives from existing teams supporting the games when they're here. And the bid is coming from the LGBT community. It's a gay-led operation from the beginning all the way through. So we're excited for the opportunity. We're excited to show what an open, inclusive, gay-friendly community means on the international stage. We're ready.
This is the very first women's soccer Olympic gold medal ever.
Oh, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
My name is Brian Scurry, and I'm so proud to be here with you today. Since 1982, the Gay Games has been inspiring people from all around the world and all walks of life to do things they once thought were impossible. For some, it was an audacious way to come out of the closet or the locker room. For others, it represented a way to finally confront the bullies from their third grade gym class. And for others still, it was a deeply personal goal to work towards and feel pride in. My name is Brian Oscuri, and ever since I was 8 years old, I wanted to be an Olympian. I remember distinctly sitting on the couch with my mom and dad watching the 1980 Lake Placid Olympic Games saying, wow, look at that. Mom and Dad, I want to be an Olympian. And it took me a few more years after that, I drew the sign. I was 12 years old, and the sign said, I have a dream, Atlanta, 1996. I was 12 years old. When I was 24, I was so blessed and honored to win the fantastic journey, and I had 16 years on the women's national team, and I wondered often how it was that I got there, how it was that I got to be on that podium at age 24. And I kept believing in it, wanting it again. And then in 2004, we did it again. Athens Games gold medal. Needless to say, I'm very blessed and I'm very thankful for all the wonderful gifts and all the wonderful achievements I've done. In the 16 years I've played, the video that you saw was the 1999 Women's World Cup final, where my team and I were able to do what a lot of people thought we couldn't do. And I'm so grateful to be an athlete and to be able to have that in my life and to be able to have that be a part of me. And there's some wonderful things about that team that a lot of people don't know. One of the things is I was one of the only openly gay athletes on that team. For many, many years, almost over a decade, it was the only one. And the wonderful part about that is my teammates always welcomed me. And that journey that we went through, I can honestly say was one of the greatest things of my life. And I know that athletes at the Gay Games feel the same way. All of us in here who've ever participated, all of us in here who want to make this amazing event happen, all of us here from DC who are here before you today, hoping that you pick us. We are willing, we are ready, and we want to welcome you. And I have made one promise to myself and to others around me, that I want to make my next 40 years as impactful as my first 40 years were. I have to say that to tall order, but I honestly feel that the Gay Games is part of that. And being a part of this delegation is going to allow me to impact tens of thousands of people, if not millions, all around the world. And I'm grateful to be here before you today to tell you that we are ready. Team DC is ready to go. So thank you for having me here, and thank you for listening to my story. You are here because you have also been inspired by the Gay Games. And that is why we from Washington, D.C. are here. Our inspiration comes from the collective spirit of people from the Washington, D.C. region who have been participating in the Gay Games since that very first year. We are inspired by the tremendous leadership and support of the community, including unanimous support of 34 local LGBT teams with about 7,000 members. Also from our city council. And 2 of the city council members have traveled with us today, and they are here. From our council members, thank you so much. And now it is my greatest honor to please welcome the mayor of Washington, D.C., Muriel Bowser.
Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you, Brianna, for that story. We're so very proud of you. And I am so very proud to be here to represent my great city, Washington, D.C. And I am extremely proud of our bid team. And I wanted to be here today to join them, to tell you that our city is ready, willing, and able to host the Gay Games 11 right in Washington, D.C. I represent an international city that is indeed a melting pot of diverse cultures. We are a city that hosts every day 173 embassies where 153 languages are spoken. And today, on behalf of the 680,000 people that I represent in Washington, D.C., I wanted to pledge the full support of our government. And we will pledge $2 million to host the 2020. From DC know how truly special our city is. And soon you will see too that DC isn't just a destination, it's the destination for world-class restaurants and museums and entertainment, theater, the arts, and much, much more. My family has been in Washington for 5 generations, and I am proud that we are one of the first jurisdictions in our nation to ensure the protection of LGBTQ rights in our city. I am proud that we were one of the first jurisdictions to pass marriage equality long before it was the law of the land. And I am even more proud today that we stand up and that we say that Washington, D.C. is a sanctuary city where we are committed to protecting the rights of immigrants, the underserved, and every single person whose contributions have been too long discounted or dismissed. So it's clear that we are positioned to make the 2022 Gay Games the most inclusive ever. Your motto, participation and inclusion and personal best, highlights the principles that we celebrate in our city every single day. And this is one of the reasons we think that Washington, D.C. has the highest per capita number of LGBTQ citizens anywhere in the United States of America. The LGBT community comes to DC because they know they will be respected, protected, but more than that, celebrated. And you know something else. We have in our town come to appreciate that the eyes of the world are always on DC, and that's the way we like it. What we do and the things that we say are heard around the world. So what better place to ensure that the Gay Games and its message is communicated from a big world stage. I work closely with my peers from around the world, and I am very proud to count Mayor Anne Hidalgo right here in Paris as a friend and ally. And today, we also count her as an endorser of our bid for the 2022. We understand that the Gay Games is not just an event. It is a movement, and we are proud to be a part of that movement. We recognize clearly that while it is fun, and there will be a lot of games, the Gay Games really reflect the best of who we are and gives us an opportunity to share a message of inclusiveness. It will show us and it will teach all who come, and even those who just casually observe, how we treat each other, the ways we value our differences, and how despite all the craziness in the world, especially now, we can come together with sport, love, respect, and joy. So it is with great respect that Washington, D.C. submits our bid for these games, and we will spend the next few minutes making the case. We invite you to Washington in 2022.
Don't you think it is about time for us to finally host the Gay Games and let folks come to us? Now listen, as important as all that is, the true heart of this bid is you. You are what makes the difference between simply another sports tournament and our carrying on the legacy of a movement, the Gay Games.
There's never been a better time to live in Washington, D.C., and I dare say there's never been a better time to be gay in Washington, D.C. We believe in our human rights law, and we enforce it. and we make sure everybody protects and preserves our values in Washington, D.C. We have more than $11 billion of development along the way. We have one of the strongest tourism industries anywhere, which means when you come to Washington, D.C., we know how to treat you.
I know a little bit about hosting major sporting events. And I know about selecting cities. And this is the perfect city for hosting the gay games. And last but not least, my son is gay and my son-in-law is gay. So they know and we know in our family the importance of the gay games. It's not just about sports. It's about human dignity. It's about respect. It's about not rolling things back to the past. It's about the future becoming brighter and brighter.
Indeed. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brent Miner, and I'm a veteran of 6 gay games, served on the FGG board for a number of years, including a brief time as your male co-president, and I'm proud that I'm an honorary life member of this organization. But I am also the chair of the Washington, D.C. Gay Games 11 Bid Committee. Our bid is founded on 7 principles that have guided our work and will inspire our games in 2022. You've already seen images and heard about the first of those. Our games will be internationally focused. I want to tell you about the second principle of our bid. The games will be led by an experienced team. Now, why is experience so important to a successful gay games? It's because the collective wisdom and the best practices of an experienced team will give us a strong head start to help keep costs lower and work simpler while ensuring a quality competition. At the end of the day, we all know that creating a great sports program is perhaps the most important job of any host. Now, 31 of the 37 sports in our bid are associated with an established LGBT club, a local club, and we have connections with other local teams for the remaining 6 sports. Our local clubs compete around the world and are members of many of the organizations that are here today. They know, as you do, that recruiting participants is the first step to any good competition. And experience shows that recruiting players is most effective when it is sport to sport, person to person. And no one can recruit a soccer player better than another soccer player. Team experience also means identifying excellent venues and ensuring that the people running them are supportive and sensitive to the needs of our community, including all competitors and spectators, no matter their gender identity or gender expression. It means having a large and seasoned pool of volunteers and officials to make sure that the events are well run. And it also helps that our local teams are experienced in raising money, because that's a big part of running a sports club or a gay games. And I'm proud to announce today that every one of them, all 34 teams, has participated in raising money for this bid. We have tremendous local support for Gay Games 11. Now, most importantly, experience means we know how to plan. Our estimates are based on our numerous competitions and on the Gay Games history, and we do not overpromise the number of participants or sponsors. You can trust that our numbers are realistic and attainable. Of course, we have the capacity to grow. All sports can grow by at least 25%, and most of them can double if necessary. Experience means that Washington, D.C. starts with trusted sports leadership across the board. That means that all of us, including us here in the FGG, will have more time to focus on other work, such as fundraising, scholarship, organizational development. You know, all that really fun stuff that you love to do, right? And yet, these are the things that are necessary to run an organization like the FGG or Gay Games 11. Now, success is also defined by who attends the gay games, and why our third principle is that Gay Games 11 will be inclusive of everyone.
Hi, I'm Eric Holder, the former Attorney General of the United States, and an enthusiastic supporter of the Gay Games here in Washington, D.C. Bringing the Games to Washington, D.C. is more than simply bringing an athletic event to this nation's capital. This is really about impacting people, about helping people understand one another, about making sure that people understand who people are, where they come from, understanding their lives. This will have an impact well beyond the days that the Games will be here in Washington, D.C. It will have an impact beyond just this city, beyond just this nation. It will have an impact around the world.
The New York Times wrote a story about how D.C. is the gayest city in the United States, and I really think it's true.
There are hundreds of women in our league. We play every Sunday. There are 14 teams in my league alone, but there are no less than 3 leagues across the city operating in tandem every weekend. So it's pretty awesome. There are hundreds, maybe even over 1,000 just women alone, and when you add the men, the number more than doubles.
Facilities are unlike anywhere else. You know what? University of Maryland College Park built its facilities for the Olympic bid. We didn't get it, but guess what? Those facilities are still there and they're ready to go. So we've got the top-notch facilities, best international facilities, I think, in the United States.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the Gay Games is really going to bring together a really strong gay community here in Washington, D.C., and really increase our diversity. And rally us around this important thing, to have that community amongst us. Whether it's LGBT people, people of color, no matter what, that strength is going to be really important.
As an LGBT person, you have a great community, but I also have a lot of straight friends, and they're so supportive of our community that just makes this city more great than any other cities that I've lived in.
My soccer career as a professional took me outside of DC for many, many years. And I just felt like at the end of my career, I wanted to feel a sense of belonging and acceptance. And so I came back to DC, and when I did, I had a career resurgence. I had the best year of my career, and I don't think that's because I was a better athlete. I think that was because I was loved and accepted for 100% of who I was, and that allowed me to flourish as a human being. And I want other people to feel that way and to feel that community and that sense of belonging, because I know what a gift it has been in my life.
My name is Chris Mosier, and I am so happy to be here with you. To be an honorary co-chair of this Washington, D.C. bid. Now, I've had the good fortune of competing at the highest level in my sport as an All-American duathlete and a 4-time member of Team USA in duathlon and triathlon. And in 2015, I became the first transgender man to make a men's U.S. national team. That resulted in my helping to change the International Olympic Committee policy for transgender athletes and participation at the international level. I've had the good fortune of representing our country twice in international competition as the first transgender person to compete internationally at that level. So I've had great sports experiences to this time, but I have to say that my experience in Cleveland in 2014 at Gay Games 9 is a defining moment in not only my sport career, but also my advocacy life. So when I came out in 2010, it was after probably about a year and a half of delaying my transition, understanding who I was as a person, but not making the decision to come out as transgender because I was afraid I was going to lose my ability to participate in the sports that I love. I didn't see any people in sport who looked like me. I didn't know any gay people in sport. All of my teammates at that time were straight. And I definitely did not know any trans people who were competing at a high level. When I finally made that decision to come out because I needed to be comfortable in the rest of my life, I really wasn't sure if I'd be able to participate in sports anymore. And so I faced the challenge of the fear of losing the community that I held so tightly. I'd say from the age of 4, I found my community, I found my friends through sport. And people appreciated me because I was a good athlete. So when I transitioned, I thought, I'm going to be my authentic self, but I might have to lose this part of my identity that I've had for 29 years. Now, I was fortunate enough that I really invested myself into my training, into my competing, and I found success, obviously, as a transgender man competing in sports. But for 4 years of that transition, I felt isolated and alone. I felt like I was the only one. And in 2014, I showed up to Gay Games and found the community that I had been looking for. It was the first opportunity, the first time that I showed up and felt like I could be my authentic self as a person and as an athlete. It was that moment, it was that experience that has pushed me to be an advocate for the inclusion of both transgender people and LGBTQ people in general, because it made such a difference for me to be there and to be my authentic self and to continue to play the sports that I love. I think that's what makes me so excited about this Washington, D.C. bid. I know that we can bring that experience to other athletes. And I know everybody in the seat in this room has had a similar experience at Gay Games if you've gone. And so I know that you know what I'm talking about, what it means to find that community. Our commitment to inclusion as one of the guiding principles by the creative outreach strategies, strong diverse leadership, and our commitment to work with key partners like the National Center for Transgender Equality and Gallaudet University, which is the only university for the deaf and hard of hearing. And we have many great partners that we're going to work with on this bid to make it the most inclusive that it can be. You all know, the world has changed a lot since 1982, since the first Gay Games. Then, it was kind of a big deal just to be openly gay. And now we're talking about gender diversity, gender fluidity, intersex, all sorts of topics that weren't even on our radar back then. Even in 2010, wasn't on my radar. Now, we've all seen how sports is an opportunity to create social change. It offers us this opportunity, this doorway, to have these conversations, to discuss these topics. And I'm a living example of that. Choosing Washington, D.C., a city known for its progressive approach to discussing topics like these, will give the Gay Games a chance to lead by example when it comes to understanding, including, and uniting our community, including all the colors of our rainbow. So this is why I feel it's so important for the LGBTQIA+ community in Washington, D.C., and the world that the Gay Games comes to Washington, D.C. I know through my work with the You Can Play project that initiatives like this can take time. And it takes a while, it takes financial resources, it takes a lot of additional pieces to get this to come together. I think a key to that success is the early money from the DC government. And that's going to allow us to hire staff early, 4 years before the Games. So I'm so excited to be a part of this bid and to make this the most inclusive bid, the most inclusive Games, and to provide that opportunity for other athletes to have that moment, like I did, where they feel they can be their authentic self and be fully included. No one can speak better to the importance of inclusion than one of our honorary co-chairs of the Washington, D.C. bid. She is a true inspiration to us all.
Hi, I'm Billie Jean King. We wish we could be with you today in person and tell you why we are a part of the Washington, D.C. bid. I love the Gay Games. I am proud to be an ambassador for this organization and amazed at the number of lives you have touched over the years. I believe in this Washington, D.C. bid team. What impresses me about this Washington, D.C. bid is not only do they put increasing women's participation as one of their primary outreach objectives, but they do it in such a smart and effective way. Like Deanna Curry and Mayor Bowser that sends the right message to women. Even within each sport, They've already identified women co-chairs to ensure that women will be equal partners in all major decisions. When we treat others as equal, we are all uplifted, and we come to appreciate the common bonds we share. This Washington, D.C. big group understands this, and they know it needs more than just slogans or photos. It is time we put forth a concerted, long-term effort to bring more women, more transgender, more people of color, more deaf and hard of hearing athletes to the gay games, and Washington, D.C. is the team to do it. They will have my full support in making that happen. Thank you for your work on behalf of the Gay Games movement. I hope to see you in Washington in 2022. Let's go for it.
Some people call this place the most powerful city in the world. Others call it Washington, D.C. But I just call it home. This place is magical. Not because the president lives here, or because of the monument and the museums, but because of the people. It's like a whole other world. The culture, the history. It's easy to get lost in it all. But sometimes you have to get lost to find yourself. A lot of people just pass through. But this is my home. DC, I love you.
Good afternoon. I sell the DC that you saw in the video, the DC Cool, the nightlife, theater, outdoor activities, sporting events, and things of that nature that make us such a great destination. In our world, we see two DCs, perhaps the one you see on TV every day, and the one in which we live and we sell on a regular basis. My name is Elliot Ferguson, and I run Destination DC, which is the tourism and travel organization for Washington, D.C. We take pride in our community and the fact that we are known for hosting very large events of all sizes in our city on a regular basis. Now, I was in Cologne in 2009, and we learned a lot. And I understand what Guadalajara and what Hong Kong is going through because we're going through it again. We're really excited to be here and humbly submit to you why we think Washington is the best destination to host the Gay Games in 2022. We work in lockstep with so many people, including our incredible mayor, who's so supportive of everything we do, as well as other organizations such as Events DC that runs our convention center and a lot of infrastructure in the city, and our elected officials and the hospitality community. And as Britt referenced, the 7 guiding principles in which we're focusing on, I'd like to talk to you a little bit more about accessibility. Now, Washington is a city that has 3 airports within the region. 2 that will be accessible by Metro, 1 right now and 1 by 2020, which makes it very easy to not only get into Washington from the airports, but also to get around our city on a regular basis. We're also pleased to offer rail and bus services, and the fact that Washington is such an easy city to walk around on a regular basis. Now, inclusive of what we have to offer, there are over 20,000 hotel rooms in Washington, so I guarantee you folks will be taken care of. And not only do we have quite a few hotel rooms, but we have hotels at different prices to offer visitors that are coming to the city. In addition to the hotel package in which we're offering, there are 3 universities, George Washington University, Gallaudet University, and the University of Maryland, that are offering rooms at a low cost of $25 a night to participants. So just don't tell our hotels in Washington. Now, when we think about accessibility and moving around, Washington is really well known for getting folks from one point to the other. We're known for large crowds, be it on the mall or in our convention center on a regular basis. Now, my wife and I moved to Washington 16 years ago, and we live on Capitol Hill, so every single day I get to ride and see the monuments, memorials, and museums of the city. But if I were to walk from my house, it would take me 20 minutes, because quite frankly, that's how accessible Washington is as a destination. And as the attendees are considering Washington for 2022, we guarantee each attendee a Metro card, which will get you virtually anywhere and everywhere in Washington, D.C. throughout the entirety of their stay in our great city. And the other great thing about Metro is that 80% of the venues are within a 5 to 15-minute walk of Metro stations. And for those that are not, we guarantee you that we'll offer you transportation to get your folks from point A to point B. When we think about nightlife and all the other great things in which we have to offer as a destination, all the venues and events are within a 3 square mile of everything basically in Washington, which really, quite frankly, makes us an extremely walkable city. And one of the things that I love selling about our destination is the fact that we've got so many free things to see and do. And my website, washington.org, offers those a chance to see exactly how great Washington is as a destination. And the fact that when you think about the Smithsonian, and I'm sure you've all heard of it, you normally think about one museum, but there are actually 16 museums, plus the zoo, that are all free to visitors that are coming to Washington as a destination. So we're extremely excited about all the great things to see and do in Washington. Now, why is all this important? Simply because it makes it easier for visitors to be able to do things in a city whereas things are free. And not only that, but it gives you other options of what you can do while you're in our city, in addition to, of course, the games, which we'll all be attending on a regular basis. Now, 2 things in which the committee is committing to in 2022, which is unique. The mayor mentioned the 173 embassies. On the Thursday night, the embassies are, the local host committees is hosting embassy open houses, whereas all of you will be able to go into those embassies, and as you know, when you're in an embassy, you're in that country, and you'll be able to enjoy things without physically leaving Washington, D.C. And the other fun thing that we're working on right now is a sing-along to the sound of music on the National Mall. So just imagine the spectacle, the atmosphere, and all the things in which we'll be able to bring together as the mayor leads thousands of people on the National Mall. So if you want to see the rest, come to Washington in 2022. So clearly we're excited, and as I conclude, I'd like to talk about, or have Ryan Boss come to you all and talk about the importance of Pride Celebration, which is one of the biggest Pride celebrations in the U.S. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Well, along with accessibility and the coolness that Washington, D.C. offers, affordability is another one of our guiding principles. Because we know that cost is often the determination of many on whether or not they can participate in the games. And our goal is to make Gay Games 11 as affordable to as many as possible. As the Executive Director of Capital Pride Alliance, I have the fortune and privilege to work with volunteers, local businesses, corporations, and organizations to produce, as Elliot mentioned, one of the largest Pride celebrations in the United States and world, with over 500,000 attendees annually. What makes this helpful to us is that Washington, D.C. is a market that many of the local and largest corporations covet, specifically the LGBT community. Thanks to a strong fundraising and development team, we will raise the funds necessary to keep costs low so that we can also fund a very strong scholarship program, which we see as essential to expanding the reach of the Gay Games, specifically to our young adults. Capital Pride Alliance and I will be a strong partner with the Gay Games DC and work to help expand our corporate, local business, and organization partnerships. We already have commitments from 14 founding partners, including United Airlines, Hilton, and Miller Coors. And this represents a down payment on their commitment toward Gay Games 11. With the FGG getting 10% of corporate sponsorships, we know you about that. Our success is still your game. So let's reach toward 2022 because, as we all know, that is the 40th anniversary of Gay Games, which offers us a tremendous but also a very high responsibility opportunity to celebrate and honor our past while we plan for the future of the Games. And we want to be a critical partner with you in this movement. I work with pride organizations from around the world, and I know firsthand how important it is to have a very strong financial foundation and how difficult it is to maintain. We envision corporate partners that will not only support Gay Games 11, but will translate into long-term partnerships and relationships with the FGG and future games. That is how we sustain this movement. Washington, D.C. is home to almost every LGBTQ advocacy group, such as the Human Rights Campaign, International Federation of Black Prides, Rainbow Families, and many more. And we will work with them so that they can reach out to their members to grow and expand participation and attendees. Just like our sports team, engaging these partners will help recruit volunteers and participants. And it's not only cost effective, but it will help us to attract new people, a wider audience, and a more inclusive audience to the Gay Games. All of this is against the backdrop of one of the largest, most diverse, and active LGBTQ communities in the world. Which brings me to our sixth guiding principle. We have to have fun.
And I want to thank our fantastic bid community for pulling together a great, diverse team, a hard-working team. And I hope that you have seen what has been so special to us, the principles that underlie our bid. We want the games in Washington, D.C. to focus on the international community, be led by an experienced team, be inclusive of all people, be accessible to all people, be affordable, reasonably priced, attract the most athletes, the most spectators, the most sponsors, and of course we want it to be fun. So I hope that you will find that we have laid out that vision. I want to say too that I traveled to Paris and I wanted to be here as the chief executive personally. I also wanted to bring two of our legislators who have the power of the purse. So you would see that our $2 million commitment is real. I want you to know also how very important this is to the people of Washington, D.C., to my residents, and how important it is to me personally. My brother shared with me his experiences in Cleveland, where he even medaled. And now he co-chairs our bid. We know that winning this bid is a chance for us to show the world our D.C. values. That we are inclusive, we're diverse, and we are welcoming. Winning this bid, we know, will highlight to the world our commitment and our steadfast resistance to going backward in our nation. Of hope, of freedom, and of opportunity for all. And we like to say in our city, we just don't preserve history, we define it. So our personal ask to you is to let's make history together in 2022. Bring the Gay Games to Washington, D.C. Yes.